All right, starting with the breaking news which is coming in right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Jammu and Kashmir meeting with the Gupkar leaders and Congress is underway for the last 3 hours. Now, political roadmap for Jammu and Kashmir is being discussed with 14 Jammu and Kashmir leaders who are present at this meeting. It was started at 3 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock right now. The meeting's still underway. These visuals that you are seeing are just from a short while from now. Let me very quickly go across to my colleague Rahul Srivastava, who is joining us with more details. Rahul, coming to the perspective later, but I first want to start by asking you, 3 hours, it's been that they have been together, first time face to face with the Prime Minister. Kashmir-based parties have already made their agenda clear. What are you hearing from your sources?
Ankit, after the move by the central government on 5th of August 2019, the climate that got created in Jammu and Kashmir that led to an absolute suspension of any kind of democratic activity in the state. With the bifurcation, there was a general feeling in Jammu and Kashmir that the state has been whittled down. Now, from that point, Ankit, where there was a complete breakdown, this picture in which you find Prime Minister standing flanked by 4 ex-chief ministers, ex-deputy chief ministers and leaders who have all been political representatives of the people of Jammu and Kashmir is a huge step forward in itself. Now, given the kind of statements and the positioning which happened prior to the meeting with the PAGD, making it very clear that returning back to the 4th of August 2019 situation is their first and key demand, the centre's attempt to perhaps clarify that there is now a sense of engagement amidst what I will call the change rules of engagement as far as the dealing with Kashmir, with Jammu and Kashmir vis-a-vis the central government is concerned. One does not expect great templates in terms of successes from this meeting, but the very fact that they are talking is a big achievement. Now, in this, the central government started on a positive note by explaining that post 5th of August 2019, what have been the gains? After that, the Prime Minister has made a note, the Home Minister has been intervening, 14 speakers will be speaking out. What we are hearing is that all of them are going to put their point of view across, in which the key is going to be returning back to the old matrix.
Yes.
But that's where lies the catch. How they will decide from here to remain engaged with the central government will decide the future course of electoral politics in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right, Rahul, thank you for joining us with all those details. Meanwhile, as Rahul was in fact telling us, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is chairing this meeting along with the Home Minister. Now, the meeting began at 3 p.m. at the Prime Minister's residence, 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. 4 former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Ministers are part of this meeting. Farooq Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, Umar Abdullah and Ghulam Nabi Azad. In fact, other leaders are from the Congress, the BJP and also from the left parties who are in attendance. The major demands of the Gupkar leaders, of course, is the restoration of Article 370, immediate elections and return of statehood. However, they have said they will talk with open mind. Home Minister Amit Shah, Union Ministers Jitendra Singh and Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha are also present in this meeting. This is the first such political engagement after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government decided to abrogate Article 370 on August 5th, 2019. Now, why is this meeting so significant? So, let me just very quickly encapsulate that for you, because it's very important, the kind of messaging that will come out of this meeting, what the government has in mind and what is the takeaway for the Kashmir-based parties as well. It is important for them of what they take back for their own constituency. Why is this meeting significant? First major political outreach program by the centre after the purge of Article 370. And we have been repeating that. This is almost once again restarting the entire process. It is also aimed at resuming the electoral process in Jammu and Kashmir. Comes at a time when the trust deficit is at its peak. And what is on the agenda as far as this entire meeting is concerned? The discussions are on delimitation exercise in Jammu and Kashmir and restarting the political process in the Union Territory. Now, this is also an attempt to take all parties on board before holding elections, is what our sources are in fact informing us. Let me now very quickly go across to my colleague Polumi Saha, who is joining us at this moment. She's also outside the Prime Minister's residence where this meeting is taking place. Polumi, I specifically want to understand from you what is the messaging, because it is this engagement not only has a significance for the domestic audience, for the Prime Minister, for the BJP, but it is also about signaling to the international community, which has been quite critical as far as India's move was concerned, with Article 370.
Absolutely. There is a lot of messaging that is involved in this. Like Rahul has been saying, and we've been discussing through the day, you might not get a breaking headline out of this meeting, a breakthrough that happens, but the fact that this dialogue is happening in itself is quite significant, coming that it is after 2 years of Jammu and Kashmir being under a virtual lockdown of sorts, especially after the abrogation of Article 370 and Article 35A on August 5th, 2019. Since then, the first year, of course, with most of these political leaders spending time in sub-jails in Jammu and Kashmir. Subsequently, the pandemic, which crippled Jammu and Kashmir again, from which it is, of course, trying to recover, as is the rest of the country. So clearly, that is the focus. The government wants it to be an icebreaker meeting. This is an outreach, and like you pointed out, there has been a lot of global criticism as well about the fact that the government, after the virtual unilateral decision that it took to abrogate Article 370 and Article 35A in 2019, hasn't made any progress towards, of course, putting power back in the hands of the people of Jammu and Kashmir in terms of their aspirations, in terms of their regional aspirations, in terms of their political aspirations as well. And this is why the government is now engaging with the political leaders of Jammu and Kashmir in order to bring them on board, so that there's a smooth exercise which takes place vis-a-vis delimitation and subsequently the holding of assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Because the demand to restore the status of J&K to pre-2019 August 5th is not something that the centre is willing to concede.
It's not on the agenda. Article 370, discussions on that is not on the agenda, but how to move forward from here. As Rahul was saying, they've changed the dynamics and the matrix on which this entire conversation with the Kashmir-based parties is taking place right now. Polumi, thank you for joining us with all those details. Meanwhile, hours before the meeting, a stunning split explodes in the team Gupkar as they are now divided, at least from the talks with Pakistan. National Conference patron Farooq Abdullah has distanced himself from Mehbooba Mufti's comment where she batted for talks, or inclusion of Pakistan in the talks, and emphasized on making them a stakeholder. Farooq Abdullah said this is Mehbooba Mufti's own agenda and he has nothing to do with it. He further added he doesn't want to talk about Pakistan and only want to talk about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti, after a Gupkar meeting on Tuesday, had said the Modi government must make Pakistan a shareholder in the Jammu and Kashmir talks, as they have been talking to Pakistanis on the Taliban issue.
सुधारने इस खिते में अमन लाना है, न सिर्फ जम्मू कश्मीर या हमारे मुल्क के अंदर बल्कि पूरे खिते में, तो इसके बगैर कोई चारा नहीं है। क्लियर कर दिया, नो कॉम्प्रोमाइज ऑन दैट। और डायलॉग की बात हमसे डायलॉग कर रहे हैं, हम कहते हैं कि ये दोहा जाके तालिबान से डायलॉग कर रहे हैं। आपने सुना होगा हमारी गवर्नमेंट, तो जम्मू कश्मीर में डायलॉग करे और सबके साथ करे और पाकिस्तान के साथ भी करे रेजोल्यूशन के लिए।
फारूक साहब, महबूबा मुफ्ती ने कहा कि पाकिस्तान से बात होनी चाहिए, धारा 317। आप ही का गठबंधन तो है।
देखिए, जहाँ तक इंडिविजुअल का सवाल है, वो एक पार्टी की लीडर हैं, वो पार्टी की बात करती हैं, उसमें मैं कुछ नहीं कह सकता, क्योंकि उनका एजेंडा अपना है, मेरा एजेंडा अपना है, दोनों पार्टीज हैं और कोई ऐसी बात नहीं है।
पाकिस्तान की बात लाना बीच में इस मौके पर क्या ठीक है? आपको लगता है ऐसे मौके पर पाकिस्तान की बात नहीं लानी चाहिए?
मैं पाकिस्तान वगैरह की बात नहीं करना चाहता। मुझे अपने वतन से बात करनी है, अपने वतन के प्राइम मिनिस्टर से बात करनी है।
Now, apart from what is happening at the local yard mark, the feeling, the division that we are now seeing in the emotions as far as the valley is concerned, and the people of the Jammu region, that is also now becoming quite stark. Now, political parties from Jammu are furious over Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting and inviting the Gupkar parties. They feel BJP is surrendering the two Kashmiri parties and are enraged for not getting an invitation for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's talks. Now, Jammu parties and Kashmiri pundits allege that the centre is talking to Gupkar and ignoring the feelings of the Jammu region. They feel that their aspirations are being snubbed as they are not having a proper representation.
Today you have adopted the same old strategy. You have not given any representation to this 5 lakh Kashmiri Pandit community who are having the history of 5,000 years old. So can I ask Bharat Sarkar, who is representing in today's meeting on behalf of Kashmiri Pandits? None. Is total insulted against Kashmiri Pandits who are the nationalist forces who were working today in Kashmir Valley for this nation.
All right, with that, we are slipping into a very short break on 6 p.m. Prime. On the other side, we'll